welcome to the 2020 JCB Prize for Literature Awards evening. Thank you for joining us virtually to celebrate the best of Indian fiction. Do you remember how we'd always look at stacks of books around us and wish that we'd have more time to read them? Finally, this year, the world gave us the time to do it. Zoom and Meet became more than just words, and the personal and professional came together like never before. This year also gave us a chance to reach all of you from our homes to yours through a first-of-its-kind awards evening. As we speak today, our voices will perhaps echo in your homes, but the stories that we talk about shall possibly echo across generations. Through the best of times or the worst of times, art and literature are what have sustained us. Stories are catalysts of change. Stories are origins of utopia. But more often than not, stories are a reflection of the human condition. And here's the good thing about literature. It's that ocean of knowledge which can never dry out. And so, we at the JCB Prize for Literature worked to ensure that the show went on in a safe and sustainable manner. What remains constant is our love for and commitment to excellence in literature. What is unshaken is our belief that a great book has the ability to change people and make the world a better place. The JCB Prize for Literature was and remains a celebration of brilliant Indian writing. We will now go over to Mr. Deepak Shetty, Deputy CEO and Managing Director of JCB India Limited.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, authors and translators, it's a wonderful moment for me and my team to be part of the third edition of the JCB Prize for Literature. In a way, the digital format of this event brings to fore one of the core values at JCB, resilience, the indomitable spirit to move ahead in spite of the challenges around us. In over 4 decades of being in India, JCB has transitioned from being a company which only made earth-moving and construction equipment to one that impacts the lives of so many people in its communities in a positive and sustained manner. Over the last 3 editions, with its unique regional and vernacular appeal, this prize has blended into the backdrop of India and importantly, Bharat. Through books and literature, it celebrates our vibrancy and diversity. This year as well, the shortlisted novels cut across boundaries of geographies, languages, and gender, emerging as a wholehearted representation of what India has to offer. To make it more inclusive, these shortlisted novels are going to be made available on India's only online library for the visually impaired. In addition to the prize, with Lady Bamford's personal engagement, JCB's CSR initiatives in India extend across 3 in-house foundations, 9 of the Sustainable Development Goals, and reaches out to communities, which include women, adolescent girls and children, rural artisans, and youth. Only last year, another innovative project, Neela House, was pioneered, a center of excellence for craft in Jaipur. Lord Bamford's vision of setting up a business in India as early as in 1979 has brought us this far. His support and commitment to India growth story have been critical in JCB being a part of so many lives. From the remotest of the villages to the bustling metros, one can see JCB machines working tirelessly. And with this prize of literature, the impact that JCB makes in addition to creating world-class infrastructure in India has been absolutely phenomenal. I thank all members of the jury for their time and effort to go through every book and finalize their selection, which would not have been possible without the immense contribution of every jury member. In a world where we are still learning the nuances of the new normal, I am sure that it must not have been easy for them. And most of all, I thank all our viewers, followers, and members of the press and media for their support to the prize over the last many years. Having personally read a few of the shortlisted books, I'm equally eager to know about the eventual winner as much as you are. true to what was expected, the 2020 shortlist has been nothing less than exciting. It has something for everyone. So let's look forward to the results shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Shetty. The 2020 prize is a testament to the hard work of our jury, Tejaswini Niranjana, Aruni Kashyap, Ramu Ramanathan and Deepika Sorabji. Over to Tejaswini, our jury chair, to tell us more about the journey of the prize this year.
In early January of this year, Meeta Kapoor, the literary director of the JCB Prize, approached those who would become part of the jury for the 2020 prize. The formal letter of invitation came several weeks later, and by the time we met to discuss the first set of entries, it was the end of April, well into the pandemic lockdown in India and other parts of the world. From the time the jury was constituted to the time it first met, the world had changed utterly and completely. And as the world began to reconnect online, it began to feel less strange that the JCB jury too had its meetings only online. What did seem strange was that we were reading all these books about normal times and pre-pandemic lives. The books had all these people moving around, talking, laughing, singing, putting up plays, falling into relationships, having children, going to meetings and public talks, without any idea of what social distancing would come to mean in 2020. So we have read all the many entries for the prize in some sort of seclusion, if not isolation or quarantine, without the ease of exchanging remarks at real-life jury meetings. Most of us had never met each other before, and still haven't met, even at the end of the judging process. But today, at the end of 2020, we are at least Zoom friends. Over these many months, we've come to put up with each other, almost like family members, and anticipate each one's observations and judgments with affection, as well as recognition as to where the juror is coming from. Each member of the jury has been hugely committed to the task of reading and evaluating, and it's been a pleasure indeed to listen to the detailed rationales each one provides for his or her argument about a particular book. The very fact that these discussions could be carried out in pandemic time is in itself astonishing, and the further fact that the jury could finally decide on a winning entry is still something I'm coming to terms with. In the long list announcement, I spoke about the elaborate criteria we adopted with which to anchor our decisions, so I'm not going into those again. As we sifted through the entries, we had a difficult time arriving at the 10 books on the long list, and an even harder time deciding which of these should make it into the shortlist. The fact that we had so many good books to choose from in this year of the pandemic is cause for some celebration, because it reflects the rising quality of original and translated fiction in India today. My congratulations to all the writers and translators in the long and short lists, and to the novel winning the JCB Prize 2020.
Thank you, Tejaswini. And now, here's a glimpse into the shortlisted books for the JCB Prize for Literature 2020.
Hi, I'm Samit Basu and I'll be reading from Deepa Annapara's wonderful novel, Gin Patrol on the Purple Line. I look at our house with upside down eyes and count 5 holes in our tin roof. There might be more, but I can't see them because the black smog outside has wiped the stars off the sky. I picture a gin, crouching down on the roof, his eye turning like a key in a lock as he watches us through a hole, waiting for Ma and Papa and Runu Didi to fall asleep so he can draw out my soul. Gins aren't real, but if they were, they would only steal children, because we have the most delicious souls. My elbows wobble on the bed, so I lean my legs against the wall. Runu Didi stops counting the seconds I've been topsy-turvy and says, "Arey Jay, I'm right here and still you're cheating. You've no shame kya?" Her voice is high and jumpy because she's too happy that I can't stay upside down for as long as she can. Didi and I are having a headstand contest, but it's not a fair one. The yoga classes at our school are for students in standard 6 and above. And Runu Didi is in standard 7, so she gets to learn from a real teacher. I'm in standard 4, so I have to rely on Baba Devanand on TV, who says that if we do headstands, children like me will never have to wear glasses our whole lives, never have white in our hair or black holes in our teeth, never have puddles in our brains or slowness in our arms and legs, and always be number 1 in school plus college plus office plus home. I like headstands a lot, more than the huff puff exercises Baba Devanand does with his legs crossed in the lotus position, but right now, if I stay upside down any longer, I'll break my neck, so I flump to the bed that smells of coriander powder and raw onions and ma and bricks and cement and papa. So, Gin Patrol on the Purple Line is such a very powerful novel. It's the very best of what Indian fiction has to offer. A street level view of Indian society at its ugliest, full of rich, detailed imagery, sights, sounds, smells, textures, and characters that will stay with you for a very long time. And a story that gets really gripping and doesn't let go of you until you finish, and then stays with you for a long time afterwards. So you can see why this book made such waves in the West, and it was also one of those rare books that crossed the tracks and found an enthusiastic reception from Indian critics and readers as well. At the very core of this book is empathy. It's real, it's disturbing, it's heartfelt, it's warm, it takes on prejudice and inequality and corruption, and it leaves you both shattered and strangely whole. To Deepa Anapara, many congratulations on a stunning debut and on all the supremely well-deserved success it's already found and all the success in its future. I cannot wait to read your next book.
Gin Patrol on the Purple Line is many things. An empathetic portrait of metropolitan India, distinctive in its style, precise in its characterization, and unforgettable in its atmospheric touches. Above all, it's a triumph of storytelling. Deepa Anapara's ability to write about urban poverty without cliché or romanticization speaks volumes about her skill as a novelist, as well as the years of careful study and research that went into this book. What this novel does with some very real and very serious issues is offer them a kind of intimacy that I think is only possible through fiction. And Deepa does it all with the lightest of touches, because this is also a good old-fashioned detective story, a whodunit that's brimming with suspense, relying on the kind of airtight plot that is the mark of the very finest crime fiction. That's what drew me to this manuscript, the energetic, entertaining, compulsively readable story. Yes, this book underscores the ugly underbelly of corruption, inequality, and the grim realities faced by too many of India's children. But that's not all it does. First and foremost, it's a cracking good story. Which is why at Penguin Random House India, we are really honored that this brilliant debut novel has been shortlisted for the JCB Prize for Literature 2020. It has always been an honor for us to call this book our own. And, if I may, I just want to add my warmest congratulations to the other 4 wonderful nominees and their editors. It's a stellar shortlist, and it feels good to be in such terrific company.
Hello, I just want to read a page or two to you from this book, Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu. It's on the short list of the JCB Prize for Literature, and I really enjoyed reading it. I thought I'd give you a little taste of it just by reading one section. This is this conversation that this character, Rudra, has kind of gate crashed. He shouldn't be here, but it's not an actual physical meeting, but it is Avatar's meeting in some other ether dimension. There are more stories. There always are, Papaya says, and none of these stories are new. My next story can wait. Let me ask the question Omua put it. How long will we wait before things change? Why should those who have learned not to see for centuries suddenly wake up? Swarga used to be known as a place where empires went to die, Papaya says. now, like Ife. It is a battered coast where failed utopias drift ashore, like millions of flip-flops, and are put to new uses. Ancient blood feuds, failed methods, obsolete systems, told stories, broken laws are carried here with each new tide, and we take them in and make them something new and even stranger. And it would be worth something still if we learned lessons from the past, Umar says, but we don't. Millions die and no one bleeds. New crimes stack up while we debate old ones. Who will help our people when their water is gone? Who will take responsibility when a new bioweapon goes wrong? New Time hears you both, Olympus. We will work together to overcome these dystopian times. There's nothing dystopian about this, Sarya snaps. Rudra can hear the change in her voice and so can anyone else. Former Rukaya's left the camp. Dystopia is pornographic, Olympus. You see it and shiver, but it's also kind of fun because it's happening somewhere else, to someone else, It requires distance. Some of us are actually sitting in the fucking middle of it and we never learn to care in time. This isn't dystopia. This is reality. I'll stop here. It's a very brief reading. I really love this passage because it says something quite crucial, not only about literature, but it says it about, science fiction, speculative fiction, all kinds of dystopias are never really dystopias. They are all built on somebody's reality. So read the book. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Or be frightened by it.
Hi, I'm Himanjini from Simon & Schuster, India, and I'm delighted that Samit Basu's Chosen Spirits is on the JCB Prize for Literature 2020 shortlist. I remember reading the book in one gulp the weekend I received the manuscript from Samit a little over a year ago. And what I loved about the book right away was how inventive and smart it was. Sort of quick, fast-paced, political. It felt like something out of Black Mirror, the Netflix series, which is a big favorite of mine, and I was sort of completely bowled over. I think I might even have surprised Samit with how quickly I got back saying, yes, we want to publish this. So then lately we've also had some discussion, not lately, at the time of publication, we've had some discussion about the genre. It is in dystopia, it is near future. And recently I came across this genre called techno thriller and I was like, Chosen Spirits could also be seen as a techno thriller. I mean, not like I think categories are important really, except officially when it comes to listing on websites and such. Besides, when working on this book, none of us realized how prophetic it would turn out to be and how quickly the world would play catch up with the future as shown in Chosen Spirits. As a lot of people have said in reviews, etc., what's depicted in the book is not far from our present reality at all. There's also been a lot of fun working with Samit, from the edits to taking a call on the lovely cover designs done by Pia Elise, to of course going out for drinks with him because, as everyone knows, that's a very important part of the publishing process. And as those who know Samit will agree, he's sharp, funny, quick. And I'm not sure if Samit will be happy to know this, but even on the occasions when he gets, how should I put it, trifle displeased with some aspect of the publishing process, he remains rather entertaining because of how sardonic and witty he is. So, okay then, good luck from all of us at Simon & Schuster India to all the wonderful shortlisted titles. And I'm sure it's okay if we send out a bit of special love and wishes for Chosen Spirits. Thank you.
Hello, I am Harish, author of Mustache. Today I am reading from this wonderful book, These Bodies Possessed by Light by Dharani Bhaskar. Page number 289. Amama. Amama seemed to have lost Venu. It happened after she dropped off the letter. I came to go, we cannot meet. Venu did not write back with a plodding come back soon. Amama did not spot him on her street. When she asked a flower girl, asked about the house that was a perfect square, she was told that it was now an aging widower's. Venu had disappeared. And in the days to come, more of him would prefer out. His eyes, for instance, black like squid ink, his build, the lightness of his bones, at last his pinky. It was impossible to recall its length, its feel. And yet, Venu hadn't really vanished. Soon after dropping off the letter, when my grandmother sensed the quiver of a butterfly wings in her belly, she thought of Venu, of his whereabouts, that he was likely in London, possibly content. As her fetus grew, she could tell her skin stretched like canvas. She imagined Venu with a wife, with someone who could measure the world with him. When her body suffered a paroxysm of cramps, well, she couldn't think of Venu right then, but she did soon after when the midwife said, "I have bad news." That is when she thought of her lover. And that baby had slipped away like him. A sob. "I am sorry," the midwife commiserated. "I am sorry that it's a girl." Amama stopped. Her eyes lit up. "Of course," she said and reached for her daughter. She named her child something akin to Venu, Vanaja. For the next 4 decades, my grandmother thought of Venu, not every day but often, as being witness to her life and her daughters. He was there when my mother helped my grandmother make Vattakurambu, soyam, Mama said, and Mama was convinced that she could spot Venu assessing its viscosity. He was around when mother and daughter made an impromptu trip to Gemini studio. He measured the breadth of Cherum's wings. He was an eyewitness to the placid adventures of the household, to the tending of vegetables, to the beach getaways, to the afternoons devoted to story sharing of ice creams. Now I am going to tell a few things about this book in my native language, Malayalam. ഇത് അടുത്ത കാലത്ത് ഞാൻ വായിച്ചതിൽ എനിക്ക് വളരെ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട ബുക്കാണ്, പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട നോവലാണ്. അതിന് ഒരുപാട് കാരണങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഒന്നാമത്, ഞാൻ വായിച്ചതിൽ ഇതുവരെ വായിച്ചുള്ള എനിക്ക് ഏറ്റവും ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടൊരു ബുക്ക് മരിയോ വർഗോസ് യോസയുടെ വേ ടു പാരഡൈസ് എന്ന നോവലാണ്. പ്രസിദ്ധമായ നോവലാണ്. അതുമായിട്ട് ഒരുപാട് താരതമ്യങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് വെച്ചൊരു പുനർവായന സാധ്യമാകുന്ന ഒരു നോവലാണിത്. അതിന് കാരണം, വേ ടു പാരഡൈസ് പോൾ ഗോഗിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വലിയ എഴുത്തുകാരൻ്റെ ജീവിതത്തെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ളതാണ്. പോൾ ഗോഗിൻ്റെ ഗ്രാൻഡ് മദറിൻ്റെയും ജീവിതത്തെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ളതാണ്. ഗോഗിൻ ഒരു പെയിൻ്ററാകാൻ ചെറുപ്പത്തിലല്ല, ഒരു യുവത്വം കഴിയുന്ന സമയത്ത് തീരുമാനിച്ച് അതിനുശേഷം അദ്ദേഹം ഭാര്യയും മക്കളെയും ഉപേക്ഷിച്ച് വീട് വിട്ട് പോവുകയും പിന്നെ പെയിൻറ്റിങ്ങിനായിട്ട് ജീവിതം ഒഴിഞ്ഞു വെക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു. ഒരു ദുരന്ത സമാനമായ ജീവിത സാഹചര്യങ്ങളിലൂടെ കടന്നുപോയി മരിക്കുകയും ഒക്കെ ചെയ്തു. ആ ജീവിതമാണ് യോസ ആവിഷ്കരിക്കുന്നത്. ഈ പുസ്തകം അതിൻ്റെ ബാക്കിയാണെന്ന് നമുക്ക് പറയാം. കാരണം എന്താണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ, ഇതിനകത്ത് ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ കാർത്തിക് പകുതി മലയാളിയാണ് എന്ന് ഇതിൽ സൂചനകളുണ്ട്. കൊച്ചിയിലാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ വീടെന്ന് 1-2 സ്ഥലത്ത് സൂചനകളുണ്ട്. കാർത്തിക് തൻ്റെ 3 പെൺമക്കളെയും ഭാര്യയും ഉപേക്ഷിച്ച് ഒരു ദിവസം പെയിൻറ്റിങ്ങിനായിട്ട് ജീവിതം ഒഴിഞ്ഞു വെക്കാൻ തീരുമാനിക്കുന്നു. അയാൾ ഗോഗിനെ പോലെ വലിയ പെയിൻറ്റർ ആയെന്ന് നമുക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാ. അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊന്നും ഇതിനകത്ത് പരാമർശമില്ല. പക്ഷേ അതേസമയം അയാൾ ഉപേക്ഷിച്ച് പോയ ഭാര്യയുടെയും 3 പെൺകുട്ടികളുടെയും അവരുടെ അമ്മാമ്മയുടെയും, അതായത് ആ ഭാര്യയുടെ അമ്മയുടെയും ഒറ്റയ്ക്കുള്ള ജീവിതമാണ്. ഒറ്റയ്ക്കല്ല, അവർ ആ സ്ത്രീകൾ പോരാടി ജീവിതം നയിക്കുന്നതാണ് ഇതിൽ പറയുന്നത്. ഇത് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സ്ത്രീപക്ഷ നോവൽ എന്നൊക്കെ ഒരു വാചകത്തിൽ നമുക്ക് പറയാമെങ്കിൽ പോലും അതിലുപരിയാണ് ഈ നോവൽ. അതെനിക്ക് തോന്നിയിരിക്കുന്നത് ജീവിതത്തിൻ്റെ സാധ്യതകളെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഒരു സ്വപ്നമാണ് ഈ നോവൽ എന്നാണ്. കാരണം ഒരുപാട് സാധ്യതകളാണ് ഈ നോവൽ പറയുന്നത്. കൃത്യമായി ഇന്ന കാര്യമെന്ന് പറയുകയല്ല. ഒരുപാട് സാധ്യതകൾ ഈ സാധ്യത ആയിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ ജീവിതം ഇങ്ങനെ ആയേനെ. അങ്ങനെ സാധ്യതകളെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള സ്വപ്നമാണ് ഈ നോവൽ. ഒരു കലാകാരൻ്റെ വിധി എന്താണ്, അല്ല കലാകാരൻ്റെ കുടുംബത്തിൻ്റെ വിധി എന്താണ് എന്നൊക്കെയുള്ള വലിയ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉയർത്തുന്നു. ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ്റെ സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള വലിയ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉയർത്തുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് എനിക്ക് ഈ നോവൽ വളരെയധികം ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടത്. അതുപോലെ കാവ്യാത്മകമായ ഭാഷ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു, ഒരുപാട് കവിതകൾ ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു, ഇന്ത്യൻ സ്ത്രീത്വത്തെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള വലിയ ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ഉയർത്തുന്നു. വളരെ രസകരമായ കഥാപാത്രമാണ് ഉള്ളത്. വേണുവും വനജയും അവരുടെ അമ്മാമയും ഈ കഥ പറയുന്ന പെൺകുട്ടിയും അവരുടെ 2 സഹോദരിമാരും ഇവരെല്ലാം വളരെ ധൈര്യമുള്ള പെൺകുട്ടികളാണ്. ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക് ജീവിതത്തെ നേരിടുന്ന പെൺകുട്ടികളാണ്. അതേസമയം തന്നെ അവർ വലിയ സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തിലോട്ട് എത്തിപ്പെടുകയും ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ഒരു ഘട്ടത്തിൽ അവരുടെ അച്ഛൻ നേടിയ സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യത്തിലും ഉപരിയായ ഒരു സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം അച്ഛൻ കലയിൽ കൂടെ സ്വതന്ത്രമായാൽ നമുക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞുകൂടാ. പക്ഷേ ഈ കഥ പറയുന്ന മകൾ ജീവിതത്തിൽ കൂടെ സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം നേടാൻ തീരുമാനിക്കുന്നതാണ് നോവൽ അവസാനിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ എനിക്കിത് വളരെ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു. ഇതൊരു ഇന്ത്യയിലെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പുരസ്കാരത്തിന് അർഹതയുള്ള നോവൽ തന്നെയാണെന്നാണ് ഞാൻ ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് വിചാരിക്കുന്നത്. സന്തോഷം.
What can I say about Harini and her craft? When we first received her manuscript, what struck me most was the exquisite attention to detail that her writing reveals. For the words she uses, the sentences she constructs, the characters she creates, and the worlds she builds. What also shone through was a complete immersion in the world of words and of books and reading that make her craft what it is. Naturally, this level of skill and the tremendous depth of Dharani's reading, which you find reflected in almost every line, mean that editing her work poses a challenge of its own kind. You could go through pages of text so caught up in reading it that you actually forget to edit. And when you put your mind to it, there are revelations that arise from the text itself and make you a sharper editor, responsive to every nuance and finding the balance between being restrained and adding the spit and polish that will make it even more chiseled. The joy of being the editor of the work of someone like Harini is that every suggestion you make comes back treated with respect and care, and 1,000 times better than you thought a modification or an insertion could be.
Hi, my name is Jayashree Kalatri. I'm going to read a passage from S. Harish's Mustache, Nisha in the Malayalam original. I'm going to read a passage in Malayalam from chapter 60. മരണം ഒന്നേയുള്ളൂവെങ്കിലും ഒരാൾക്ക് പല വിധത്തിൽ മരിക്കാനുള്ള സാധ്യതകളുണ്ട്. തന്റെ ചുറ്റുവട്ടത്തിനപ്പുറം യാത്ര ചെയ്യുകയോ ചിന്തിക്കുകയോ ചെയ്യാത്ത സാധാരണ ജീവിതത്തിന് ലളിതമായ മരണമാണ് നല്ലത്. പ്രായം ചെന്ന ശേഷം ഒരു പനി പിടിച്ചോ വയറിളക്കം പിടിച്ചോ കുറച്ചു ദിവസം കിടന്ന് ആർക്കും അത്ഭുതമുണ്ടാക്കാതെ മരിക്കുക. ജീവിതം പോലെ മരണവും സംസാര വിഷയമാകാതെ പോകും. മക്കൾ പോലും കുഴിയിലെ മണ്ണുണങ്ങും മുമ്പ് അവരെ മറക്കും. വല്ലപ്പോഴും സ്നേഹത്തോടെ ഓർമ്മിക്കും. ഇത്തരക്കാർ തന്നെ ഒച്ചയില്ലാതെ കടന്നുപോയ തങ്ങളുടെ ജീവിതത്തിന് വിപരീതമായി മരണത്തിലൂടെ സംഭവമാകാറുണ്ട്. പെട്ടെന്ന് ഉരുണ്ടു വീണ് മരിക്കുക, അസാധാരണമാകും വിധം ഏറെ നാൾ കിടന്ന് മറ്റുള്ളവർക്ക് ഉപദ്രവമായി മരിക്കുക എന്നിങ്ങനെ. മൃതദേഹം കിട്ടാത്തത് കൊണ്ട് തീർച്ചയില്ലാത്തതായി പോയ മരണങ്ങളുമുണ്ട്. ചെല്ലയെ പോലെ, മാച്ചോവന്റെ പോലെ മറ്റുള്ളവർക്ക് ആശങ്കയുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന മരണങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിൽ ഔന്നത്യമുള്ളവർക്ക് യോജിച്ചത് അതിന് തക്കമായ മരണമാണ്. സന്യാസി ഭഗവത് നാമം ഉച്ചരിച്ച് മരിക്കുക, തെമ്മാടി കത്തിക്കുത്തിൽ മരിക്കണം, രാജാവ് പ്രജാക്ഷേമം അന്വേഷിക്കുന്നതിനിട മരിക്കണം. അത്തരക്കാരുടെ മരണം യഥാർത്ഥത്തിൽ ദയനീയമായിരുന്നാലും കേമമായിരുന്നെന്ന് പുറമെ പ്രശസ്തി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നാലും മതി. വേലുത്തമ്പിയുടെ അനുചരനായിരുന്ന വൈക്കം പത്മനാഭപിള്ളയെ സായിപ്പന്മാർ തുറുവേലി കുന്നിൽ വെച്ച് പിടികൂടി ഒരു വീപ്പയിൽ തള്ളിക്കയറ്റി ചുറ്റും ആണിയടിച്ച ശേഷം താഴേക്ക് ഉരുട്ടിക്കൊല്ലുകയായിരുന്നെങ്കിലും അദ്ദേഹം വജ്രമോതിരം വിഴുങ്ങി ജീവൻ വെടിയുകയായിരുന്നെന്നാണല്ലോ എല്ലാ പുറമേയുള്ള കേൾവി. ശ്രീമൂലം തിരുനാൾ രാജാവ് തീപ്പെട്ട് മാസങ്ങൾ കഴിഞ്ഞാണ് 99 വെള്ളപ്പൊക്കം ഉണ്ടായതെങ്കിലും വെള്ളം ഉയർന്നു വരുന്നത് കണ്ട് എന്റെ പ്രജകൾ ഇനി എന്ത് ചെയ്യും എന്ന് ചങ്കിൽ വെച്ച് കൈവച്ച് ചോദിച്ച് നെഞ്ഞുപൊട്ടി അദ്ദേഹം മരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നെന്നാണ് പിൽക്കാലം ആൾക്കാർ ആത്മാർത്ഥമായി വിശ്വസിച്ചത്.
Hi, I'm Tharani, the author of These Are Bodies Possessed by Light, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the novel Mustache by S. Harish, translated from Malayalam by Jayashree Kalathil. Mustache is a world unto itself. At one level, it is a story of Vavachan, a Pullian, who on donning a mighty mustache as a secondary character in a play, finds tales of epic proportion building around his facial hair. At another level, it is a tale about caste and about Vavachan's attempts at breaking free of its soul-crushing hierarchies. At yet another level, Mustache is a song about land, about Kuttanad in Kerala with its winding network of waterways and canals and fields. For me though, Mustache is above all else a story about storytelling. Fact and fiction, magic and realism, parable and history collide, tales pile upon tales, and all at once, reality becomes a fast-changing thing. The excerpt I've chosen to read out today, I hope, highlights the novel's commitment to exploring storytelling. I took a bus back home, sat on a side seat, and opened the window shutter. It was drizzling outside. The other passengers sat huddled into their seats with the shutters closed, their faces reflecting the emptiness of their minds. Why else would they not insist on sitting on the side seats and, like little children, watch the scenery outside? If a person cannot enjoy the world unfold as they travel by bus, wonder why the trees, houses and people run backwards, it means they are bored with life and are waiting for the arrival of the man riding the buffalo, Kalan, the god of death. As the bus crossed Mananam Bridge, my excitement increased. The scenery outside was something I saw on a daily basis, but I loved watching the rain-drenched contours of my local landscape. The bus stopped at Kutumburam, and there he was in the bus shelter, Vavachan, the man with the big moustache. He had a folded towel over his head to keep the worst of the rain away. I had never seen the old-timer travel by bus. He walked everywhere, barefoot, no matter how far he had to go. The bus started moving. I shouted for it to stop and jumped out, making my fellow passengers lift the shutters and look out. Good, at least they were alive. I persuaded Mustache to accompany me to the nearby toddy shop. We sat across from each other at a corner table and ordered bottles of toddy fresh from the evening's tapping and a plate of fish gravy to lick between mouthfuls. Tell me about the old days, I said. What to say, Mustache said, smiling. If folk from my childhood were to come back to life, they'd go crazy. Girls are riding scooters, people are going to Ernakulam in the morning and coming back the very same day. Night is like day and so much light in the houses and on the roads. And no one has kanji for their morning meal. They make special snacks. Indeed, everything has changed. You know the bus road by the side of the canal near your house? That used to be a skinny little ditch. Mustache brought his hands close together. And the pond, it used to be thrice its size. I used to catch snakeheads in it. Really? I had to urinate, so I stepped outside and stood looking at the field swallowed by darkness. The toddy shop was almost empty. A devotional song played softly in one of the rooms. It was quite late, but I did not feel like taking out my phone and checking the time. I resolved to continue talking with Mustache even if it was past midnight. By listening attentively to someone else and getting to know their experiences, we get an opportunity to live another life, to cheat the director of the play that is our life, who sent us onto the stage with just one role. We get to play other roles. I let out a sharp howl into the darkness and went back inside on unsteady legs. But wonder of wonders, Mustache had vanished, leaving only empty bottles and glasses behind. Where's Mustache? I asked the cook Chandran. Mustache? He hasn't been in. He was just here, we were drinking together. Nonsense. You're quite over the limit today, Chandran said, patting my shoulder. I saw you gesturing and talking to yourself and I thought all that drinking and ganja smoking has finally caught up with you. Be serious, Chandran Chetta. We were right here. Look, here's the glass he drank from. How's that possible? Mustache has been in the hospital for the past week, the medical college hospital. Chandran took my money and gently persuaded me to leave. I had a headache from having mixed my drinks, but I walked the 3 kilometers home, enveloped in a sense of happiness. Tonight, I had an interesting story to tell my son. The story of Mustache, who could simultaneously appear in different places and disappear at will. He had a magical mustache with curved ends that touched the sky, and a spotted eagle had built a nest in it.
To be honest, I didn't know what to expect with Misha. There was a lot of noise around it when it came out, and I was both curious and a little skeptical. We'd received a couple of translation proposals, about which the less said the better. It occurred to me that we should ask Jayashree if she could have a look. I'd worked with her before on her brilliant translations of N. Prabhakaran's stories. And when we talked later and when I read a couple of chapters as rendered by her, it became absolutely clear that what we had on our hands was something really, really special. Harish was of course not a new name for readers in Malayalam. He was already acclaimed for his short fiction. But this is his first novel, and it's staggering how ambitious and accomplished it is. The range of his concerns, the variety of linguistic, imaginative and intellectual resources that he pulls together into what sounds like it should not work but miraculously does. The challenges facing Jayashree were also, therefore, formidable. And I think with Mustache, she cements her place as one of the finest translators working today. It's because of her that readers in English can appreciate this work in all of its complexity and nuance, its beauty and violence, its poetry.
Hello everyone. I am delighted to have this opportunity to read a little bit from Annie Zaidie's inventive and wonderful novel Prelude to a Riot. It's set in an unnamed South Indian town amidst plantations, and we see the daily lives of multiple characters unfold against the threat of imminent violence. I'll read a brief extract from the beginning of the book. This chapter is titled Garuda Wades Through Medieval History with Class 10B. Garuda is a teacher at a local school. A man, once his bum is firmly attached to a big chair, modifies his name suitably. He needs a name of cosmic significance. Light of the world, moon glory hovering over the world, Lord of the skies, the terrible, divine flame, ocean pearl, the universe itself. Problem with this guy was, he wasn't very fancy. He sounded like just another brown guy. Maybe he felt that way too? His father was an ordinary soldier, one of those who worked their way up, slave dynasty type. No, not an actual slave. He soldiered up the ranks. A common man, sort of. Many new dynasties were formed in this way. Even kings have to trust someone, right? And they do not trust their own family members for obvious reasons. If you remember your ancient history, Ajit-Shatru Bimbisara, recall? Bad question, Garuda. Never ask 10B if they recall what we did last semester. Onwards. This guy, Haider, was a solid fighter. Heart like a tiger. Brain also superb. How do we know? Well, if he wasn't smarter and more useful, see, finally it comes down to being useful to the king. And he was very useful. Why else was he hired? Why was he promoted? Just for fun? See, the establishment always needs a few upstart generals. But eventually, the fellow gets wise. He starts to think, aha, the king cannot do without me. This means it is I who deserve to be king. So he makes himself equal in power to the king. Then his son inherits his power. I hope you'll pick up this wonderful book. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi, I'm Pujita, Executive Editor at Aleph Book Company. All of us at Aleph are delighted that Annie Zaidhi's novel Prelude to a Riot has been shortlisted for this year's JCB Prize for Literature. Prelude to a Riot is a novel about today's India where violence, lynchings and riots have become all too common. And as Annie tackles these complex topics, her writing is understated yet powerful, and like all great fiction, immerses the reader in the lives of the memorable characters in it. Annie brings together her lyrical writing and her journalistic skills to take the reader into the very heart of this darkness. This is a short but powerful book that will stay with the reader.
Finally, for the reason we are all here, we have Lord Bamford, Chairman of JCB, to announce the winning book that will carry on the legacy of the JCB Prize for Literature 2020.
Good evening. What an honour it is for me to join you all virtually for this evening's awards ceremony. I'm so pleased the pandemic hasn't interfered with our plans to award the JCB Prize for Literature in this, its third year. Thanks to modern technology, the team behind the prize has been working remotely over Zoom in recent months, maintaining an all-important links with authors, with the publishing industry, and with media outlets. My personal thanks go to Meghna Verma at the JCB Literature Foundation and Meeta Kapoor, Literary Director of the JCB Prize, for all of their hard work this year in making sure everything went to plan in spite of COVID-19. If there's one thing that this awful pandemic has taught me, it's that we need books, now more than ever. Since March, our lives have been filled with so much bad news that we've all needed some form of escape. And what better escape can there be than picking up a book and being drawn into a wonderful story? I've certainly read a lot more than usual this year, and I've definitely felt all the better for it. Literature in all its forms really does lift our spirits, allowing us to escape to a different reality. Talking of escape, a downside of the pandemic for me is that I've been unable to make any trips to India this year. My wife, Carol, and I try to get to India at least twice a year. Since falling in love with your country back in the 1960s, this country has become a large part of our lives. Our links with India run deep, largely through JCB India, which last year celebrated its 40th year in business. My wife is very passionate about the wonderful work undertaken by the Lady Bamford Charitable Trust in the villages near JCB India factories, particularly on education and the preservation of traditional Indian artisan crafts. Karen and I share a love affair with India that just grows and grows. We love the diversity of your country, the different cultures and languages, and we love the colour and vibrancy that accentuates the genuine warmth of the Indian people. We are truly inspired by the can-do attitude and your irrepressible optimism. It brings us so much joy. India has given us so much. And because India has given us so much over the years, that I wanted to give something back. That's how the JCB Prize for Literature came to be. I firmly believe that literature is a window on the culture of a nation. Books deliver a sense of place. They describe a feeling, an emotional attachment to something rooted in that place. Supporting in Indian literature made so much sense to me a few years ago when I was looking at ways of giving something back. Our experience with the JCB Prize for Literature in the first 2 years of its existence has shown that literature offers so much depth, so much variety, and so much diversity. That's why I'm delighted the prize features translations from other languages. And it fills me with real pride to know small language publishers from all parts of India are making their presence felt through the JCB Prize, standing confidently alongside the publishing giants from Delhi and Mumbai. Now it falls to me to announce the winner of the JCB Prize for Literature for this year. But before I do, I need to thank the jury, 4 wonderful people who found themselves in lockdown in different countries across 3 different time zones. They had to judge the merits of various different books without actually being able to receive hard copies due to the pandemic. Not only did they have to read books off a screen, they had to get together on Zoom to debate the merits of what they had read. There is no doubt that the jury went way beyond what would normally be expected of a jury. On behalf of JCB, I thank the jury for all they've done in support of the JCB Prize this year. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. The winner of the JCB Prize for Literature 2020 is Moustache by S. Harish, translated by JCB Prize. Many, many congratulations to the winner.
Thank you, Lord Bamford, and congratulations Harish and to JCB Prize as the translator of the book. I want all of us to imagine the echoes of a thunderous applause and share Harish's joy as the author and Jayashree's as translator on this well-deserved win for Moustache. Congratulations to the team at HarperCollins Publishers India as well.
വളരെ സന്തോഷമുണ്ട്. ഇന്ത്യയിലെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ അവാർഡാണ് JCB അവാർഡ്. അത് ലഭിച്ചതിൽ വളരെ സന്തോഷമുണ്ട്. മലയാള ഭാഷയ്ക്ക് ഇത് 2ാമത്തെ തവണയാണ് കിട്ടുന്നത്. ആകെ 3 തവണയെ JCB അവാർഡായിട്ടുള്ളൂ. 2ാമത്തെ തവണയാണ് കിട്ടുന്നത്. ആദ്യത്തെ തവണ ബെന്യാമിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന മലയാളത്തിലെ എനിക്ക് പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട എഴുത്തുകാരനായിരുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഇത് ഭാഷയ്ക്ക് കിട്ടിയ അംഗീകാരമായിട്ട് ഞാൻ കരുതുന്നു. അതോടൊപ്പം ഇത് ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത ജയശ്രീ ഏറ്റവും നല്ല ജോലിയാണ് നിർവഹിച്ചത്. കാരണം മീശ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മുസ്റ്റാഷ് ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വളരെ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുള്ള ഒരു നോവലായിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ കരുതിയിരുന്നത്. കാരണം ഒരുപാട് ലോക്കൽ ഫ്ലേവറുള്ള ഒരു നോവലാണ്, ലോക്കൽ ഭാഷയുള്ള പ്രാദേശിക ഭാഷയുള്ള നോവലാണ്, പ്രാദേശിക ജീവിത രീതികൾ ഒരുപാട് വരുന്ന നോവലാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണെന്നാണ് ഞാൻ കരുതിയത്. അത് ജയശ്രീ വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് ചെയ്തു. ജയശ്രീക്ക് നന്ദി പറയുന്നു. അതോടൊപ്പം ഇതിൻ്റെ എഡിറ്റർ രാഹുൽ സോണി, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പ്രസാധകരായ ഹാർപ്പർ കോളിൻസ്, മലയാളത്തിൽ പ്രസാധകരായ DC ബുക്സ് എന്നിവർക്ക് പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദി പറയുന്നു. അതുപോലെ മീശ മലയാളത്തിൽ ഇറങ്ങിയ സമയത്ത് ഒരുപാട് വിവാദങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായ നോവലാണ്, ഒരുപാട് എതിർപ്പുകൾ നേരിട്ട നോവലാണ്. ആ സമയത്ത് കൂടെ നിന്ന എല്ലാ സുഹൃത്തുക്കൾക്കും നന്ദി പറയുന്നു. സന്തോഷം, വളരെ നന്ദി.
Hello everyone, greetings from London. Wow, this is an absolutely wonderful moment. Thank you so much for this honor. I was already over the moon that Moustache was shortlisted alongside such brilliant work by Deepa Anapara, Annie Zaidi, Dharini Bhaskar and Samit Basu. And now for it to win, it's really humbling. The first thing I want to say is congratulations Harish. I'm so happy for you and so thankful that I was the one lucky enough to translate your amazing story of Kuttanad and the incredible Vavachan. It was everything one could have hoped for as a translator, a work of fiction that pushes the boundaries of the imagination, a style of story writing that is gripping as well as challenging, and an author who is patient and responsive. But most of all, an author who encouraged my creativity to show through in the translation. I am deeply grateful, Harish, for trusting me with your work and for your friendship. And as a translator, I am particularly pleased. Translation makes possible a wider sharing of the rich diversity of language, cultures, styles of storytelling that constitutes Indian literature. I see this award as a recognition for the regional language literature and especially of contemporary Malayalam literature, and for translators as interlopers, bridge builders and co-creators who make possible a wider exchange of ideas with the world. In choosing Mustache for this honor, the jury of the JCB Prize for Literature has acknowledged that regional literature is as much part of what constitutes Indian literature as those written in English. My deepest gratitude to the jury, Tejaswini Niranjana, Aruni Kashyap, Ramanathan and Deepika Sarabji, and to the JCB Literature Foundation, the literary director Meeta Kapoor and her team. I have only done 2 book-length translations so far, and one of the things I have learned in the process is that it is a team effort, and the team is not complete without the editor. Rahul Soni at HarperCollins is a man who makes magic, and I'm truly grateful that he was on our team. Thank you, Rahul, for inviting me to translate Mustache and for all your support. And also thank you to Udayan Mitra, Amit Malhotra and others at HarperCollins. And a very quick thank you to my cheerleaders, my husband Adli Siddiqui, my family back home in Kerala, and my friends, especially Shafali Jha and Akriti Mehta. Under different circumstances, we would all have been together now and talking about our love for the written world and the joy in sharing that with the rest of the world. For now, I send you all my love and gratitude. Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone who made this journey a resounding success. Lord Bamford, the JCB Prize for Literature would not have existed without you. Thank you for always being our rock. Thank you, Mr. Deepak Shetty, for extending your support every time we needed it. Thank you to JCB India and our wonderful advisory council for their energetic guidance. I'd also like to thank our partners, Books on Toast, Amazon, Books on Delhi Metro, Vogue India, Mint, Ernst & Young, and all the bloggers and members of the media who have supported us through the year. A big thank you to all the long-listed authors for being a part of the journey with us. An extra special thank you to the members of our jury. Each of you were warm and helpful. The animated discussions and your keen observations on every book we read were the highlight of the whole process. Most of all, I'd like to thank the team at the JCB Literature Foundation. It is not easy to shift to a new way of working and a new world order, but everyone on the team rose to the occasion and worked tirelessly to ensure the success of this year's JCB Prize for Literature. This year has compelled us to ruminate, reflect, and reinvent our lives. Great works have always been a guiding light in our darkest moments. It is time for us to return the favor and support those who give us a chance to live outside our little lives, even if it's only for the span of a book. The aim of the JCB Prize for Literature has always been to celebrate the best of fiction writing in India. But that is only one of its many layers. It is our dream that the prize fosters a culture of contemplation and writing to flourish in India. It is our hope that more people choose to express themselves through fiction, in English and in every Indian language. And more importantly, have a forum like the JCB Prize for Literature to celebrate them.